Okay, so hello and welcome to this practice today. This is our 60-minute flow practice, and for today we will be using 2 blocks. Now, if you don't have yoga blocks, you can use anything. These are actually pretty heavy, so it does make it a little more challenging. But any blocks that you've got or anything else that you can kind of grab hold of like this. So we will be holding in our hand each, and we will be doing things like bringing them together overhead, okay, stuff like this. So anything you've got, of course, if you don't have anything at all, you can always just use your hands and your imagination basically, and imagine that you're squeezing and holding. So there's always a way around it, but if you'd like to today, props will be supportive, maybe to make it a little bit more challenging. So finding your comfortable seat, it might be cross-legged, you might like to sit up on the heels. Take a moment to roll those shoulders back. Little wriggle side to side. And then you're welcome to close down the eyes or soften the gaze to the floor. And as you're doing this, finding a gentle movement, slightly rocking forward and back, but try and find this rock in your pelvis. So it's like you're tilting the pelvis forward slightly and then back. And just starting to bring this movement and awareness through your pelvis and your back as you tilt forward and back. Doesn't have to be a huge movement. You might also look to coordinate this with your breath. So there is a sense of rhythm and awareness that's happening. And then feel that movement slowing down a little more, as if it's making its way towards the center, towards that point of stillness and awareness. And taking 2 more full breaths here. And then soft gaze of your eyes. We'll come out to our 4 tapping points just to allow the more subtle energy flow in the right direction, or more coherent direction, let's say. So right underneath the eyes, on the cheekbone where it is here, you can bring 2 or 3 fingers just along that line and gently tap. This is the starting point of our stomach meridian, so it has a really grounding effect in context with our stomach energy. So as you tap, again, you decide how much pressure you want. If it does feel a little tender, don't force it, but just know that that can be your body saying it would like a little bit more attention here. Beautiful. And then we'll come to our second point under the collarbones. So the end of the kidney meridian, this one is great for any sense of overwhelm or stress, allowing things to neutralize. That tends to be the point that actually brings all of our meridians in order into sort of coherence, so they're flowing in the right direction. And our third point on the central meridian or the thymus vein, so just drop down to the center where you have access to, depending on clothing, and you can tap here maybe with both hands, maybe in your own rhythm or just one hand. Again, this point can be really sensitive, so sometimes massaging, which is really light touch, can work, and you just want to gently work with it. And our last one is out to the side on the end of the spleen meridian. So it's somewhat in line with the nipple or just underneath and out to the side. So maybe you leave your elbows within reach, or the base of the bra. And then release from there and just shake out your arms. And then rub your hands together and shake them off. Beautiful. Let the hands come down for a moment. Take a nice full inhale. And exhale, side out. Okay, and like that. And then opening your eyes. we'll change the seat. So we will be doing a little bit of this movement. I recommend sitting up on the heels, but if sitting on your knees like that doesn't really work, you can either prop yourself up with anything else so it feels a little more comfortable, or stay in the other cross-legged shape that felt a little more supportive, and have your blocks close by. Okay. But we'll start off by reaching the arms up, and you might just extend and reach through your arms, or you might like to interlace the fingers and press the palms away. Find that lift and length up the side of the body. And then releasing your hands, let your right hand come down, left arm reaches up and over. And you might even enjoy a little bit of exploring the movement here, reaching and leaning forward, and then opening up and back. And then when you're ready, you'll come up, drawing through the center. So it's this awareness of the center of your body again, of your core. As you stabilize and move through, and then a little bit of movement forward and back. Yeah. Up. Let the hands come down, so bring your hands behind you and interlace the fingers. And check it out. Okay, so now taking hold of your blocks or anything that you're using like your blocks, and holding in, you can hold each one with each hand, a little bit of your elbows, and then reach the blocks up overhead. And you can again do this just with no blocks, no extra weight, or even something really light. And just kind of feeling where the weight is coming down through your hands. And then notice what happens to your spine or to your back. So you're not overly arching forward or kind of collapsing back, but this place of neutrality. So just like we did when we were tilting the pelvis, can you find that center? So there's a feeling of pressing your hands into the props, the props up to the ceiling. And just taking about 3 full breaths here. And then lowering down. And as we're working with these, being mindful to find that control and awareness, shake it out of the bottom. And this next one, depending on what you're using and how it feels, especially when I'm using these, they're pretty heavy and I don't want to drop them on my head. So, starting off by bringing them together, and just in front of the chest, I want to press in. And I'm looking to find the connection and activation. So, all along the front of the chest, through the arms, feeling this nice connection, like I've created a circuit of strength and awareness in the body. Now, your option is to stay here, or start to lift the props. So you might bring them right out in front, or you might start to bring them up and over the head. And you can see I've still got a bend in my elbows, because that's the extent of where I'm going to go, so that I don't drop the blocks on my head. And we'll just take 3 breaths here. You can bring them out in front a little more. And slowly bringing them down and place them back. And let your arms release for a moment, check that out. And notice where else you can feel the sensation, whether it's in the chest, maybe in the back, or through the arms. And just become aware of what other areas are coming online. So we want to actually encourage areas to come online and support when we're doing this. This time we're going to take the blocks behind. So here, and take hold, bring them behind the body, flip them together like that, and then we hold. So you can try and keep them off of your body, so the props aren't leaning into your back, drawing away. Lift and lengthen. Notice what happens here. And then we hold. And then gently release once again. Take a moment, let it rest. You might even just pause with your hands down, close the eyes, and take it more into this introspective pause where you notice your breath and you start to notice the subtle sensations as you feel them by using the props. Then we'll take 1 more with each round. So either holding in front of the chest or lifting up, and then we'll come behind again. So as you're ready, take the blocks. Setting up as you bring them together, or whatever you're using. Reach them out in front, and then you reach them up over your head. And just holding here. Really work to stay connected with your breath. One more breath here. And exhale, coming down. Place the blocks down. Release the arms for a moment. Regulate your breath. Beautiful. And the last one, I'm going to bring them behind us. So holding on, take them back, bring the blocks together, lift and lengthen as you go. Looking to create space across the chest. Beautiful. One more breath here. And then release. This time you can bring the blocks up to the top of your mat so they're there for our flow. Rolling back for a moment. And then just let that pause and settle. Notice. Okay, we'll come into tabletop position. So first you just might like to roll out through the wrists and the hands, or you may even like to bring your hands down, turn the fingers in, and get that little bit of stretch, especially after we're gripping hold of the blocks and trying to work with balance. So check out the hands, you can even take them back the other way. A little movement and stretch. And then making your way towards your tabletop position, spreading the fingers, pressing down, so wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, and then starting to take a few rounds through your cat-cow. So bringing that movement through the spine, rounding and doming. And then having your hands just step forward slightly, sink yourself back to child's pose, but bend your elbows so that they come down, handstand in the same position. Then with your breath, you're going to ripple forward towards tabletop, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, spine downward facing dog. You can keep as much of a bend in the knees as you'd like to start with. And then feel this ripple forward with as much control as you can. Lower the knees, there'll be a moment of hover. Then knees come down, sink back, child's pose. You might keep the toes tucked. Ripple forward. Toes are tucking either way, downward facing dog. And then flowing through these three positions. So your down dog, your tabletop, and your child's pose. Starting to warm up from there. And seeing how you can slow something down to add a little bit more activity, a little bit more awareness to it. Maybe that feeling of cat-cow as you're coming through your tabletop and child's pose. And then taking one more round, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. So if you prefer a moment in child's pose or just sitting back on the heels, go for it. Otherwise, coming into your downward facing dog, maybe a moment just to feel out through the feet. Really just settling into the shape. Remember, you can keep as much of a bend in the knees as you'd like to find that length. And sometimes you might just prefer to have the legs a little straighter and curling out. Seeing what feels good for you rather than what kind of think it should look like or feel like. Exploring the movement. 2 more breaths. And then rising up onto your toes, gazing forward, start to make your way towards the top of your mat. And coming into the forward fold, you're welcome to have that bend in the knees, elbows to the knees. That gives you a little more support for this first round. Or feel free to come further. You might clasp opposite elbows and just folding over the legs. Maybe even a bend and straighten with your legs, and really look to press down through the 3 points of contact of your feet. And then pressing down, find that active place, slowly start to curl all the way up. Reaching your arms to the top, lift, and hands through heart center. Arriving in your Tadasana or mountain pose. And we'll take it through a few rounds of Surya Namaskar A, just to really warm that up. So inhale as your arms reach. And then on your breath, forward fold. Find a halfway lift, hands to shins. Bending the knees, plant your hands. You can step the feet back to high plank position. Now, option for this first one, we'll shift forward and let the knees come down, but you're welcome to lower down through your high push-up. Elbows in, come all the way down to the belly. Now when we're here, we'll start, and the option is to stay with baby cobra, but just lifting up. So using your chest and your back to lift. Maybe you add the fingertips and just support here, pressing down through the feet. And your option for the practice today is to stay with your baby cobra, or you might bring your hands in, wrists under the elbows, pressing to the tops of the feet, and we'll lift up for upward facing dog. Lengthening through the crown, lengthening across the chest. Coming over on the feet, up and back, downward facing dog. And then 2 to 3 full breaths here. Rising on your toes as you're ready, gaze forward. Maybe a walk, a step, or a hop. Top of your mat, and then folding over the legs. Grounding down through the feet, and rise on up. Maybe you keep rising and reach up onto your toes. A little more activation through the legs. And hands come down. Again, round 2, reach up, inhale. With your breath, forward fold. Halfway lift. Bend the knees, plant your hands, and now taking it back to high plank position. Option either through your knees to your belly, or you might come halfway down for your low push-up. You can come all the way to the belly lift for your baby cobra, or transition onto the tops of the feet, upward facing dog. Coming up and back, as much of a bend in the knees as you'd like, downward facing dog. Again, taking 2 to 3 breaths here. And then rising up onto the toes, gazing forward, step, walk, maybe a hop. Top of your mat, and forward fold. Pressing down through the feet, rise on up. Arms reach, you might rise up onto the toes. And then hands through heart center. Taking a nice full breath. And then arms reach up once again, lift and lengthen, and forward fold. Halfway lift. Bending the knees, plant the hands, step back, you can always hop back. Option straight to down dog, or through your flow, once again, so maybe halfway, and then transitioning onto the tops of the feet. And coming up and back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. This time, right leg rises. And then bending that right knee, you might just take a little bend and pause here, or you might first stack the hip, open and explore a little bit of your wild thing. I mean, scorpion dog, but if you'd like to go to wild thing, and it's in your practice, you can come over, you roll onto the blade edge of that left foot, right toes might come down. You always support this variation by bringing that left knee to the floor. Okay, so it would be down here, and then you lift up, just an option. Otherwise, when you're ready, reaching up and back, extend that right leg. And then draw the knee towards the nose. So rounding forward, take a moment, pause. Inhale up and back. Gazing forward, step that right foot in between the hands. Okay, so staying up on the back toes, and you're going to grab hold of your blocks or your props. And checking in with your stance here. So really pressing out through that heel so you're nice and comfortable. Just kind of grounding active. So as you lift up, you can stabilize here. So if you've gone too wide with your stance, just stepping it in a little. Sinking into that front end, and a moment to lift the shoulders and draw them back and down. And then if it feels comfortable, starting to lift the blocks, we're going to reach them up overhead once again. So pressing through the blocks or the props that you're holding on to, lengthen. Beautiful. Then draw them down in front and bring them together. So just like what we did when we were seated on the floor, you might stay here if it feels a little bit more precarious when we're standing. You might reach them out in front. You might start to bring the blocks a little more up over the head. But choosing your variation and pause, pressing out through that back heel. And then coming back through center, and we'll take them behind. So bring them behind you, and the blocks come together, lengthening across the chest, pressing in. One more breath. And then gently release and hold the blocks by your side. Okay, so from here now, option one, if you want a little more support, is you're going to come forward and let the hands come down, or the blocks, sorry, the props come down onto the floor. If they're not that stable, then you might not want to do that. But you can bring your fingers down. Otherwise, you're going to come forward, weight into your right foot. And the blocks come in and then floating on into your warrior three. Now you can see, I'm going to start up nice and high. And as you feel more comfortable, you might come down a little further, more towards this full warrior three, holding onto the blocks. Okay, so just being where you want to be. You can even keep the back toe down and just lean forward like that. Or you bring the blocks all the way to the floor and you support from here. We are going to go there, so you might want to play with the balance a little more. And then just one more breath. And with control, now we'll bring the blocks down. So if that doesn't work for you, you can bring the fingertips to the ground or anything else to support the floor. And then really pressing out through the back heel. Now you're going to take this foot and then gently lower it down so you tap the big toe to the floor. And then inhale, lifting up. Now this time you're going to take your left foot, take it over towards the right. So I'm actually crossing it off the mat, little tap. Might not come all the way, lift up. Then take it over towards the left, so off the mat, and little tap. One more like that, so through center, tap, lift, to the right, tap, lift, and over to the left. Lift, and then step on back. Take your blocks to the side, bring your fingertips down, and then bring your back heel down, toe heel your right foot out a little more towards the right, and lift it up. Whoops, for warrior one. Nice full breath here, pressing down through the blade edge of your back foot. And then bring the hands down, and we'll take it back. So if you've got any little handstand hops in your practice, you might want to step your right foot back halfway, ground down through the hands, reach that left leg up, and just look for these little hops. If you had no interest in that, stepping back, maybe you take it through a round of your flow. Maybe you just meet in a child's pose. And then your option will be holding your down dog for 3 breaths. Maybe you prefer to hold child's pose, or a moment just to sit up on the heels. And pausing where you are, observing and noticing the breath, the sensations, maybe the sensation through that right leg or the right glute right now. And just allow yourself to come back to that sense of center, rhythm, and connection to your breath. then when you're ready, we'll come back, downward facing dog. For the left side. So left leg rises, bending the left knee, and your option, you might just be here and explore this scorpion dog, your little movement, or if you took it into wild thing, gently rolling onto the blade edge of your right foot, left toes come down, and lifting up. Make your way back as you're ready. Reach that left leg, and then draw knee towards the nose for this first round. As close as you can. Inhale up and back. And then step the left foot in between the hands, or stay up on the back toes. Again, you can shorten the stance as you bring the blocks in. Okay, so you're going to bring them in, make sure you step up, and then lifting the blocks up. So you find your crescent warrior stance. Okay, you can lift the shoulders, draw them back, bending those elbows, and to start with, we're just going to reach the arms up. Keep your gaze focused, keep that hugging into the inner thighs. And then gently coming down. So your option is you bring the blocks or your props together, either holding right here, or reach them out in front, or maybe you reach them up and over here, or in that general direction. It doesn't have to come all the way over, it's not going all the way over. Pressing them in though, drawing in towards the center. Taking one more breath here. And then coming on down. And we'll take it back. So blocks come behind you. Pressing them together, keeping them away from your body and try and lengthen across the chest as much as you can. Keep that sense of squeezing and hugging into the inner thighs. One more breath here. And then release. Arms come down beside you. Okay, so next one we'll move into that variation of warrior three. Now keeping the hands weighted, so still with the blocks, your option is to come forward and the blocks come to the floor right away and you're lifting the back leg. Otherwise come forward and you might even just gently keep your back toe on the ground to stabilize. Or a soft bend through that left knee, you might start to shift forward a little more and hover. Doesn't have to be huge, or you can come down a little further. Or again, blocks come to the floor and you might hold right here. So taking 3 more rounds of breath with your float or foot down, or whatever your variation is. Beautiful. And then on your next exhalation, place the blocks or the props down or your fingers down. And we'll play with these little taps. So pressing out for your right heel with control, gently lowering the leg down. Tap the big toe. Inhale, lift up. Now we take it out, so we're crossing over the midline. Taking it over towards the left side. Tap. Lifting up. And then over towards the right. Tap. And control, lift it up. Again, through all 3, tap through the center, bend that left knee, lift up. Lift the chest, cross it over and tap to the left. Lifting up. One more over towards the right. Lifting up. And then I'm going to place those blocks as you step back. Toe heel that left foot out, back toes come down, and then this time we rise up for warrior 1. Lengthening up. Beautiful, hands to the floor. Oops. And then if you're taking those hops, you might step halfway back, reach the right leg and just little hops. Otherwise, stepping back maybe through your rounded flow. And then we'll meet in either a child's pose, a downward facing dog, or just sitting up on the heels. And just noticing, again, your breath, the sensations in your body, maybe the differences that felt through the left side to the right side, if there were any. Taking one more breath. Beautiful. And when you're ready, coming back for downward facing dog. We'll rise up onto the toes, gazing forward, walk, step, or a little hop. Top of your mat. Folding over the legs. Pressing down through the feet and rising all the way up. And hands down. Okay, so we're going to work with a variation of tree pose here, again using the props. Now, if you're not using blocks, it may be hard to stand on your item, so then you don't have to stand on it, but you might get, if you've got a blanket or a couch cushion, anything like that, you could get a blanket and actually stand on that instead, maybe out once, or you might fold it, and you'll be standing on that, just so the surface is a little different than what you're used to. Otherwise, you'll be standing up on your block. Oh, going out of the shot. And then what John suggested last night was, if you want even more of a challenge, you could take the blanket and then put the block on top of the blanket. So it adds even more of another balance trick. So very much up to you. Then you're going to take hold of your other prop, and we're going to hold that in our arms. So starting off, I'm going to come up onto the right foot, but you can start with whatever side feels good. Okay, and as you're here, we're looking for tree pose, but you might just be feeling a little bit off balance, so you can keep this bottom leg just down, big toe to the floor, stabilize your balance. Or maybe the foot comes in to wherever it feels somewhat comfortable. You can press the foot into the leg, leg into the foot. And then our other prop we hold in front like we did before, and you're going to squeeze. Now your option is to stay with the block right here. You're not going to see me, so I'm about to leave the shot. Or you can reach the arms up and then squeeze the block above the head. Okay, or it could be just straight out in front, or a little bit up, whatever feels like the option you want to go for. I'm just holding it in front and squeezing everything in towards the center. Again, fixing your gaze on something that's not moving. Taking 3 more breaths. Beautiful. Okay, now holding onto your block, we're not just going to come down right away, but draw your tree leg, your knee towards the chest. So I'm drawing my left knee in. Now I want to keep my prop, my block, in the opposite hand. So I've got the prop into the hand of the leg that's grounded. And then you're going to start to reach that arm away. Now you might reach it out in front, right? So extending. And then see if you can start to kick the free leg back. And this is very much just exploring your balance. I've got a wall behind me, so it's a little hard to go forward. But then I would be more creative and take my leg out to the side. So whatever you've got around you, work with it. See if you can play with. Come down a little lower. And you come up higher and bring the leg out, taking yourself in all sorts of directions. So just see if you can maintain the balance. You might turn the hand down, might take it back, and you keep holding that object. It's been a good time if someone wants to walk into your lounge. And just finishing it off. And once you've had a go at that, you can sit down for a moment. You might just give the legs a little shake. And then we'll pause for that interoceptive pause. So palms beside you, soft knees. You might like to close down the eyes and soften your gaze to the floor. Take a nice full inhale through the nose and sighing it out the mouth. And this moment to observe any differences between the right and left side of your body. Maybe notice how each foot is connecting to your mat. Does it feel different? Can you notice different sensations between the legs? One more breath here. Beautiful. And then open the eyes, shake it out, and we'll take it to the other side. So if you were on your right foot, we'll take it to the left. Whatever you were on the block or the blanket or wherever your setup was. Same thing again, you're going to sit up for chair legs initially, so maybe that foot was down, maybe it was just kind of resting into the block or up on the leg somewhere. See, so choosing your, what's it called, tree pose. And then your other block or prop comes in between the hands. You can squeeze right into the chest. You might reach the arms out or reach them up. A little bit easier, we're just squeezing one and not making them push together. And then fixing your gaze, we'll pause here. One more breath. Beautiful. And staying on that left foot if you can. The block's going to come into the left hand or the hand of the grounded leg as you release the other leg and draw the knee in. And then we start to extend away. So initially I'm going to press that free leg back behind me and then arm forward and maybe even coming down. And then let it be yours. You can explore lifting up. Again, if you've got walls behind you like I do, it does definitely add a little bit of challenge. Explore where you can go, explore the balance. And notice if this other side is a little easier or a little more challenging than your first side. And you take one more. If you've got anything else, even lifting up a little higher. And then when you're ready, coming down. Again, moving the props out of the way. Taking a moment just to shake that out. And then this really intentional pause, which we're working harder. So closing down the eyes once again, or your soft gaze towards the floor. Settling your breath. Maybe a sigh at the mouth and noticing the difference that you feel in your feet. Did one ankle feel stronger than the other? Can you feel the different movement or flow of energy running up the legs? Move through the hands, the arms. And then one more full breath here. Inhale. And exhale. Release the out, give it a little shake. Nice work. And then just clearing your mat so the props can come back to the top. And then we'll meet at the top of the mat. We're going to rinse that out through a flow now without the blocks. But still really thinking about the integrity of how we keep things active even when we remove the props out of the equation. So inhale for the arms to reach up. And exhale, it's forward fold. And maybe you give your legs another little shake. Hands to the shins, halfway lift. Bending your knees, plant your hands, step, or maybe your hop, come back. Option, straight to down dog, or moving through a round of your flow. And modifying that however you'd like to at this point of the practice. Right leg rises once again. Option to be here or scorpion dog. Maybe a little movement, maybe you want to take it into wild thing this time. And then drawing the knee towards the nose, and now we'll step it in between the hands right away. Rise up onto the fingertips, slightly moving that right foot towards the right. Keep the left hand down, sap onto the back of the left toes, and open for your crescent twist. You can lift that back heel a little more. You might just play with lowering it down and lifting it up, seeing how that feels. Beautiful. And then let that right foot come more towards the center. Reach the right arm down beside you. Lift up like you're coming towards your crescent lunge. Back heel comes down and open yourself out for warrior two. And maybe a moment to sink in and move out. Adjusting the placement of your feet so you do feel nice and grounded and stable here in your shape. Little reach forward, turn that front palm, reverse your warrior back. Beautiful. And then gazing forward, you wiggle the hands back down, lift up onto your back toes. This time bring both hands to the inside of your right foot. Toe heel that right foot out a little more, and let the back knee come down. Now, if you like to use a blanket or anything else, a rolled mat under your back knee for lizard lunge, go for it. Otherwise, take a moment here, and you can keep this foot out, and then you might like to just either hold here, although we will have an option for that, or you might like a moment to move forward and back. So sinking into that knee, and then drawing yourself back. Okay, it doesn't have to be all the way back. Explore the movement for you, and to adjust the foot if it doesn't feel quite right. And then if you prefer to stay with movement, that is absolutely your option. Otherwise, we'll come into more of a lizard lunge. So your option to bring the blocks in if it's a little struggle getting to the floor. So you can use your elbows to come off the wrists. And we'll pause here now. If you want to add the quad stretch, that would be bending your back knee, taking your right hand back to catch hold of the foot. Feel free if that's there in your practice, your body is calling for it. Otherwise, we'll just pause here, releasing out, come back to your breath, and release awareness into your shape. About 5 full breaths here. One more full breath in your lizard lunge. And then lifting up onto the hands. We'll take the blocks there out to the side and close by. Lie down through your hands and then step yourself back. So as light as you can, lifting up. See if you can just sweep this foot back. Your option again, downward facing dog, maybe child's pose, maybe through a round of your flow. Always optional. Nice full breath in your down dog. And then left leg rises. And again, that option to come into scorpion dog. If you took it all the way over, feel free to go again. And then when you're ready, coming back, knee to nose, stepping it in between the hands. You might like that little left foot a little more towards the left. Right hand stays down. We open for this. Is that better? Hopefully you can see me. I think maybe I just died. Yeah. Okay, so forward and back. And then we'll come into our lizard lunge. So you can bring those blocks in if you were using them. I'll actually read that. I'm hoping that was good. Coming on down, and then that option, if you took the back foot, you come around, maybe you take hold, just very much an option. Or holding here in your lizard lunge. Take about 3 more breaths here. And just when you're ready, blocks to the side, hands come down, easing your way back so as light as you can, lift up, sit back. Option to hold down dog, and you take it for another round of flow. And then we'll take a moment to meet in child's pose again. We're always welcome to meet kind of sitting on the heels and just pausing right here. And these moments of noticing, of coming back to your breath. You just want to let that all rest as our next pose. We have to do a little bit of dolphin. Seems like a good idea. Okay, if you prefer not to do dolphin pose this morning, you're welcome to come into a seat, just propping up on the blanket with both legs forward and come into your forward fold or pushing Uttanasana. Otherwise, take hold. If you were using the block, and it's optional, you might not want to use the prop, but quite a nice variation. So if you've got the block, you're going to squeeze with your hands. Yep. And before you even go up, you're just squeezing, you're pressing down with the elbows, you squeeze, and then lift the hands and place them back down. Lift and down. And keeping this connection so your elbows stay right on the mat, and then we'll lift up. Dolphin pose. So you can bring as much bend in the knees as you'd like. You might like to play with this, lifting the hands. It's pretty unpleasant on the elbows if you've got quite a hard floor, like I do. So you can add the blanket, or just don't lift it as far, or just don't lift it at all. Otherwise, you can hold here. You might like a few rounds of swimming dolphin. Okay, 3 to 5 breaths. And then just when you're ready, coming down, you can release the arms, pause. Again, noticing that. And we will take one more round, but if you have any other inversions or you want to add any other variations, this will be your time to do that. Especially if you're working with just little hops in your dolphin, little hops. You've got a wall, you might do it into a wall. But make sure you maintain that strength of integrity so you're squeezing in. So that when you add little jumps, your arms don't start to slide out. It's kind of a shore road to face planting. You know? So you want to keep this strength and making this connection like we've been doing with the block all class. So you're able to actually access from your hands, elbows, and shoulders this connection to the chest and the core of your body. You're welcome to have another go with the block or take your variation. Lifting out, squeezing the hands, and this time continue further with me. You might just play with lifting one leg and hold there for a few breaths, and then lifting the other one. Just holding there. You might take another 3 to 5 breaths where you are. As you're ready, we'll meet in our child's pose once again. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, we'll come up and make our way over onto the back. So you might take that through a vinyasa or through your flow, feel free to do that. Otherwise, coming over and then back down, sitting up in your constructive rest position. So shoulders back, feet to the floor, palms down beside you. Always the option to take supported bridge or undulating. Otherwise, as you sit up, find your shape. We'll lift into a bridge pose. Wriggle the shoulders underneath. You might even like to come a little higher and interlace your hands if the space is there. And just holding for about 3 to 5 breaths here. Just as and when you're ready, you can make your way down. Pause for a moment. This might be constructive rest. Feel your knees knock in. And just experiencing the sensation. It's kind of nice when we've been in back bends. Then your option here, you can come back to your bridge pose. If you have a full wheel or Urdhva, you might want to come up into your full back bend. Or if you prefer now to come into your supported, you can go to a block or a cushion or both blocks. Anything you've got that is of a supportive structural shape to support under the sacrum. You can take the weight of the body. Maybe you come here, maybe you take it to waterfall, or again, keep working through your active back bends. Or you can be here with me. Very much up to you how you'd like to start to bring the practice down. Really taking your time at this point. You have things that may feel more suitable. Staying with your flow, basically. Otherwise, if you come down from supported, you come out of your back bends. And take a moment to bring your feet a little wider. Just let those knees start to move from side to side. Releasing out through your lower back. And really working and breathing with your nervous system so that everything slow down as we make our way in the direction of Shavasana. And coming back through center, draw that right knee in towards the chest, your left leg long. For a moment, you might just hold the right knee here, this could be enough, or take that left hand to the right knee and crossing it over the body. In your supine spinal twist, you can gaze over your right shoulder, or just keeping the gaze up towards the ceiling. And then gently back through center, and we'll take the other side. So left knee in towards the chest, right leg long. Right hand to left knee, crossing it over. Maybe you turn the gaze, maybe your gaze stays up a little higher, or just towards the ceiling to keep a neck neutral. And then coming back to center as you're ready. Any last final movements, which may be knees in towards the chest, or taking that through a happy baby. And then we'll come into Shavasana, so that may be your more classical variation of arms and legs out long. You might prefer any extra props, so your hands resting on the body or the legs in a different shape. You might like to lie on your side or your belly, or even make your way into a seated position if that feels a little more appropriate to close out your practice today. Really just taking your time to find your shape. You might like to close down the eyes and just allow the weight of the body to settle. Lowering that, but letting go of any of the conscious control of your breath. So you come back into your natural rhythm of breathing. And just noticing with an exhalation the weight of your body falling into your mat or onto that. Nothing's in contact with the floor. Shavasana. And if you have more time today, feel free to stay as you are. If you're at the hour with me, we need to move on with your day. Gently inviting the breath back, inviting movement into the fingers and the toes. I like to stretch out long, maybe roll to one side. Moments of pausing and noticing, drawing in a sense of gratitude for yourself and practicing. Just staying right here, coming up to a seated position, like to join me with the hands at heart center. And we'll close together on a single round of breath, breathing in through the nose and sighing out the mouth. If you're practicing with me, have a beautiful rest of your day. And namaste.